I need a gun to keep myself from harm. Poor people are burning in the sun. They ain't got a chance, they ain't got a chance. I need a gun, 'cause all I do is dance. 'Cause all I do is dance. Oh, morning. Oh, 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 oh. I need a gun to keep myself from harm. The poor people are burning in the sun. They ain't got a chance, they ain't got a chance. I need a gun, 'cause all I do is dance. 'Cause all I do is dance. Am I back? Am I get my act right? In case you act right, difficult. And yo, it's so weekend. With anger and discontent, so we're seeking this, searching like Nimoy. I'm a peace living decoy, ready for retaliation. I changed the whole vacation to a pine by 6 under. And post a don't ask why and wonder. All to give to me is strike like I'm thunder. With life of fast reflexes, on constant alert from the constant hurt that seem limitless with no drop in pressure. Seems like everybody's out to test it till they say you break. They can't see the hate that consumes you. I'm the reason why you flip your Sousa. Chill with your old lady at the tilt. I got a 90-day extension and I'm filled with guilt from the things that I've seen. Your water's from the bottle, mine's from the canteen. At night I hear the shots ring, so I'm a light sleeper. The cost of life, it seems to get cheaper. Out in the desert with my street sweeper. The war is over, so said the speaker. With the flight suit on, maybe to him I'm just a pawn. So week in advance, remember when we used to dance? All I wanna do is dance. Hey, hey, hey. There's supposed to be like background vocals or something. Need a gun to keep myself from harm. Hello. If I look gray, let me know, because I'm trying to work on the balancing. But it is me, NS, Nerd Slayer, Nerd, Justin, whatever else you want to call me, because I don't really discriminate. I feel like, so everybody has like slight tangent already to start the 6 Pixels Under podcast, my show podcast. Which is that, I don't know, like, I guess when it comes to your, sorry, I forgot to say good morning, or I think I did say good morning already to you, Anderin, but welcome everybody. My brain's waking up, and also, we're doing it live. But anyway, I was thinking, first off, that was Dirty Harry Gorillas. I should probably tell you guys every time who the tracks are in particular, because sometimes people ask and sometimes people don't even know that it's me singing it. Like I've got that joke a few times. They're like, "Oh, you play your music beforehand?" And I was like, "No, that's me. I'm warming my voice up. Like I'm trying to wake up." Because I'm one of those people that when I wake up in the morning, even if I go to the gym sometimes, I don't talk. You know, I'm like kind of quiet in the morning, which is funny because I'm an extrovert. But maybe I always tell people it's because my brain's not working yet, but I don't actually know if that's my excuse. I'm not an early person, obviously. So maybe it's related to that. But anyway, on this week's podcast, we're gonna talk about whatever random shit, of course, pops into my head as normal. But also, I wanted to, do like a recap, which I've been making a habit of doing after each Death of a Game gets like uploaded. So that's what we're doing. We're gonna do a little recap of Dune Awakening. And honestly, Dune Awakening, where to start? Well, we can start with Funcom. Funcom and I have like such a long history, and yet we don't. And what I mean is that typically speaking, for other big game companies and other MMOs and stuff like that, I've been able to form some sort of relationship with developers. And while I'm not going to say that I ever go out of my way to do that, because I don't, it's never happened at Funcom. I'm just going to say that. And something that I'm not going to cover too much of what was already covered in the video. I'm going to try to cover things outside of that. But something I wish I kind of talked about a little bit more was that with Funcom, it's not just like a matter of them having the same people making the same mistakes, which is something that I talked about in the video. It's also the fact that they're kind of allergic to feedback, because in pretty much all of their games I can ever remember, especially the ones that I was testing, which was not Dune Awakening, actually, as I've talked about, they've never really been that responsive to feedback. And something I've kind of heard about the creative director himself, and this kind of makes sense, is that, well, first let me explain. I'm going to explain both sides to this, okay? Because some people would wonder, why would developers ever ignore player feedback? Let's start there, because that's kind of like the controversial part, right? Why would developers ever ignore player feedback? The simple answer is it sucks. Player feedback is notoriously horrible. Most players who quit, as postulated by Yoshi P, don't tell you why. So you're not even going to get the right feedback most of the time. And the only people who typically do complain are people that are passionate about it, whether they, like it or don't. So you are getting a bit of charged feedback. The other problem is that when you're a creative and you're trying to parse through a bunch of information, you can't do it yourself. I know it's, and actually, Mojave, you're right on the money. It is arrogance to think that you could actually go through all feedback and then kind of just maintain your own design in your head. And what I'm saying is that artists don't do that, right? The greatest artists that we respect and like and enjoy, even if they're smaller or bigger, they're pretty known. Those are my dogs in the background, by the way. For some reason, deciding to fight while I'm streaming. But anyway, so basically, you kind of have to make this decision as a creative, how much effort you're going to dedicate towards reading feedback. And that, again, that might sound arrogant in itself, but it's not. It's actually just realistic, and that's because not anyone in the world is capable of taking tons of feedback. You're not supposed to take tons of feedback. Human beings are only supposed to take bits of feedback at a time so they can actually action on it, right? Obviously, having platforms changes that. For example, having a social platform or whatever else, right, will greatly change that, because then suddenly the lighting there looks a little bit better. Suddenly, I have wondered in Funcom's case, is it we know best, but my vision? Yeah, so that's kind of what I'm driving towards. I'm going a little bit slow, but that's kind of where I'm moving towards. So it's hard to take in the feedback and be the creative yourself. And part of that is because if you haven't already done this process with yourself and with your internal team, everything starts to feel like an attack. This is just the truth. So Card and I have had this conversation before. Card, of course, one of the big driving forces behind the Dune Awakening video, being a longtime Funcom enjoyer, just like me, but also being the person who actually went in and played Dune Awakening and played it extensively. And of course, I have other friends that did as well, just like I have many other sources, as I always do. Sources are never just myself. So when people say stuff like, one complaint I saw a couple of times from people I've never obviously interacted with, which is usually kind of like the common, like, I guess silver lining in it, is that like people were saying, oh, well, you didn't even play this game. So like, why does your analysis or opinions even matter? Well, it's like, well, technically think about it this way. I've played essentially 9 to 10 different Funcom games. So you could, for example, as like just a Dune Awakening player, say, well, I think my opinion is better because I play Dune Awakening. And honestly, you're entitled to that opinion. But in terms of market analysis and in terms of actually understanding overarching themes, how past problems have reoccurred and so on and so forth, you would have such a low understanding of the actual story that it wouldn't be helpful for you to be the one that would tell that story, right? Like, do you see what I'm saying? That's why the series is the way it is by design. It's not just because, like, it became that way. Like, the series Death of a Game is designed in a way that, yes, chronicles dead or dying games or companies, but also chronicles them in a way that's not just my input, right? It's just so happened that I'm using essentially a mind meld, right? Like, everyone's sitting there doing the spirit bomb meme, and they give me all this information. Developers, players, journalists, good friends of mine who are very good sources. Like, when I talk about good friends in this context, I'm talking about good sources. Card is one of these sources. And I saw some people even trying to be like, oh, like your source, like da-da-da, you can't just base it off your source. It's like, guys, I've been in professional settings with Card, and I've also played innumerable hours with Card, including in virtual worlds. I trust their opinion on virtual worlds more than any of you guys. I'm just going to be honest with you. If you don't think that's a worthy assessment, or you don't think that's fair, I can bring Card on again, and him and I can talk, and you could see, or you could even come talk to him yourself. That was kind of the point I was going to drive towards, Madness, is that in terms of creatives, good creatives can always create when it comes to what they're good at creating. So, for example, tell me and Card to team together to make a RPG or a world for you, and we will do that in short time because we love to do these things. We've done it many, many times before, including in professional contexts with clients before, on the spot, right? So there's no like anxiety when it comes to virtual worlds for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's actually a very freeing thing in my life. I'm hoping some of you can relate. Or it's like many other things in my life can be stressful. When it comes to discussing, engaging with, and participating in like virtual worlds, it's never that for me. That's not the stressful thing for me, right? Like, that's the amazing thing. It brings with it so many wrinkles of life, all concentrated into a little package, you know? In a guild, in a game, in a world. And, yeah, and that's the other thing, context I didn't really give as much, Madness. That's a fair point, is that Card was offering status reports as the game was going on, including from beta. So many of us in the Discord were aware of how the game was going, even if we weren't playing it. And if you come and join our discord.gg/nerdslayer, you'll find out that like pretty much every virtual world that ever comes out, somebody's talking about it there, even if just briefly. And so you can get at least a little bit of discussion about some of these things. And the discussion that you're having with many of these people, in my experience on my Discord, is pretty good discussion, because these are people who care a lot about the industry. And they care a lot about talking about this stuff. Anyway, so to go back to kind of what I'm saying, Madness, because I'm skipping through parts, but it's because this stuff is not easy to talk about. That's why you don't see me talk about it in my videos, because there's too much to talk about. And we're trying to follow a timeline. The more I start diving into analysis, the more, whether I want it or not, it becomes kind of sidetracked, right? But anyway, so the idea is that creatives, when they walk out into like the street, shouldn't actually theoretically really be that reactive to somebody critiquing their art. Now, obviously, you can react however you want to react, but I'm saying literally in a pure kind of like idea sense, right? Because your ideas are already tested, or they should be. Do you see where the problem lies? If you ever see a video game developer, especially a virtual world video game developer, seem sensitive when their ideas are attacked, if it's not explaining, because remember, explaining something is not sensitivity. And if it is sensitivity, it's the kind of sensitivity that everybody wants in the world, which is like things more properly explained, right? There's no downside to that. But there's a difference between explaining something, right? And then being like, shut up, yeah, blah, 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 blah. Which is what happened with Joel Bylos on, or with Funcom at Dune Awakening. Reportedly on the Discord, this was, confirmed by multiple people, including on Reddit, their Reddit, Dune Awakening's Reddit, I mean, that posts were deleted. Ideas, critiques, certain things like that, and apparently, from what they're saying, and I trust based on the context that I was presented, that these weren't even aggressive things. They were just, people were just giving ideas, hey, this is how I feel, this is what I think, so on and so forth. And they were having this reaction of just like, I don't want to hear that shit. In my opinion, that's insecurity, right? Mixed arrogance and insecurity are like best friends. I think that's like an arrogance insecurity of thinking like, oh, we've already made a couple of virtual worlds. We know what we're doing. The thing is, Funcom, is that every virtual world that you guys have basically put out had a shitty launch. Like literally every single one of them. I'm not exaggerating. Anyone wants to pull my file, feel free. But pull up every Funcom game right now. Tell me one that launched good. Not even a single fucking one. You have to think about that. Imagine if, so when I used to work in construction, I always bring it back to construction, guys. So when I worked in project management, if I had 6 projects that never had good starts to them, first off, I don't think I would have continued to be able to work in the in the professional field that I was in. I don't know if it's because construction is just an older, more well-understood field. I have no idea, but I would have been fired. 6 failures on a project is fucking insane. I mean, that's like, I don't even know where to start with that. Now, here's the thing. Now, what if you say, yeah, but let's quantify failures. Those games sold relatively well. That is true. But if your measure for selling well as an MMORPG or a virtual world is simply initial sales, you literally don't understand the own genre and market that you're in. And that's even stranger. Or a more insidious thing, which I've heard this levied at Funcom, or you don't care. Especially now since the company's owned by Tencent. Or you just don't care. You just want to make money even though people are not going to be satisfied with your product. I mean, it's so bizarre that Funcom still has defenders in the video game section. The video game section. I sound like a boomer. I mean, the comment section. The video comment section. That were defending Funcom and telling me, you're hurting the game by reporting on this. They didn't say reporting, but they say it in another way that I've done something super targeted. It's like, okay, I'm just reporting on it, right? And many of the sources that I'm getting and the information I'm talking about doesn't just come from me. I can't repeat that enough to you guys. The analysis doesn't just come from me. The facts don't just come from me. I don't create facts. That's not how they work, right? As far as I know, I haven't created any facts. So you see what I'm saying? I'm working with facts on a timeline, right? Analysis then comes from everything else around it. Culture, journalists' impressions, ideas, coverage. You also have, of course, player coverage, player ideas, player reception, player expectations, critical expectations, right? Expectations matter so much when it comes to these things because they set basically what the field is going to be for what people expect your success to look like. Um, so anyway, the idea that people would defend Funcom in this case is like, it's, think about it. Let me just describe it to you very quickly. Right before the game was going to come out, they announced private servers that had to be bought a week before the game came out. They also then announced the game was no longer an MMO a month before the game came out. Think about this. Let me put this into my professional context again when I used to work in construction. That's like me telling my client, hey, everything's A-okay. Actually, it's just B-level, guys. Actually, it's just a C-level. It's just like, when you compare video game development to other fields, you realize how infant it is as a field and industry. And also, I'm just going to be honest, how utterly unprofessional it is. Like, Funcom is such a great example of this. You're literally going to have a Funcom support team that's just largely AI. And then whenever people do have the chance to talk to people, there's no process for trying to come up with like giving them the outcomes they need if they had like an error, a bug, or so on and so forth. There's no inventory system, something that EverQuest GMs were doing back in 2004 or whatever. You see what I'm saying? It's just like, I'm not buying any of that shit. And you shouldn't buy any of it because I was there when those games were out and I saw what they were capable of. And Funcom has never had a single successful launch. Like, meaning it's always been plagued with issues that hemorrhaged their audience. If you're going to say commercially, can they sell successfully? Yes. They can sell 1 million copies. They did that with Age of Conan. It was a best-selling game despite being a virtual world, despite being an MMORPG virtual world. And then Dune Awakening sold 1 million copies in a jiffy. Just them being able to leverage that Dune name with their name, boom, million sales. But what about hemorrhage rates? Look at the populations of the games that they would make. Their populations jump off the cliffs within just months. And not just the classic, hey, every MMO that comes out has a couple of months of drop of population. No, I'm talking like Conan like literally fell off a complete cliff. My entire 150-person guild quit. And we were like one of the server first, like world first guilds. My whole fucking guild quit. And Secret World? Do you want to know how many of my friends would quit when I told them, hey, you have to respec your character, but you can't really respec your character because you picked the wrong shit, even though you picked something that you thought would work together because you thought you could just mix and match everything? They were like, wait, seriously? So blood doesn't work with fucking the AR? And I was like, no, it doesn't. There's no synergy. If you try to use those, you'll essentially just be like worse. And it's just like, see what I'm saying? Like, just going through issues, and I have so many Death of the Games on Funcom games. But that's the thing, is that these are games that are launching and always have these hemorrhaging issues. So at this point in 2025, Funcom should not have defenders saying, be nice. It's absurd. Where was those defenders whenever I was working in construction? Like, think about that for a second. Is it because my art wasn't art enough? How come I didn't have people randomly on the street posting on my videos or posting on my construction posts on buildmanagement.com saying, hey, well, I don't know, just give this guy another chance, you know? It's just so absurd how the internet kind of goes along with video games and it creates this like weird pseudo like protection, false positivity, fake positivity, toxic positivity culture where it's just like, no, development is about being nice and having rainbows together. And it's just like, I don't think it is, actually. I don't think it is. Yes, madness. And that's the thing is people would say like, oh, well, the first 100 hours of the game is good. Yes, but here's the thing. They're the ones that built it on the deep desert, not me. I would have told them not to. If they asked me, I would have said, hey, don't do the deep desert. Just end the game. And if you do a deep desert, make it purely cooperative. Like, I would have, I mean, as I said in the video, I try not to talk too much about my personal thoughts of how I would handle something because I don't think that that is as pertinent in most cases unless I really do have I think, a well-informed take. But yeah, I think that Dune Awakening was better off as a cooperative game. Just like, you know, Grounded or something like that. And I think it could have worked even better as a game like Grounded. I used to hear this often. The less you know, the less you have to do. Nice Dune video. A group of my friends bought it day one and never played it. Shout out. Yeah, but other than that, I mean, I'm trying to think what else. Oh yeah, I made a really dumb fucking like mistake in the video. I said an open world is an MMO when I meant to say an MMO is an open world. And for some reason, I said that backwards. And that's one of those things where it's like, if you're trying to be specific with terminology and like base concepts, you have to be specific with words. And I know that triggers some people, including me. I'm not much of a grammar person, if you haven't noticed, despite being a writer. That's just my level of autism, I guess. Grammar has never interested me. I've always like rejected it almost internally. And I think it's just because my brain is, you know, pretty experimental, pretty experiential, if you will. And it's just like, I'd rather feel things and work through how to say them properly. Versus like, here are the rigid rules that this must be said when almost nobody really follows those rules. Anyway, that's my autism rant. So going back to Dune Awakening, yeah, so that they could have just got an easy W with Dune Awakening if they wanted. They chose to make it more than it was, and when they couldn't, they failed at that. But the thing is that like them trying to make it more than that is their fault, right? They made a decision, and then it didn't work. Yeah, well, so that was the thing. I actually was going to respond to that, but then I wanted to make sure that I said what I said for some reason because I felt like I was going to forget it, which is probably true. But yeah, so when I made a correction post, I got actually responses to that, and I thought that was really entertaining. And I thought I'd give you guys kind of like an idea of how it plays out in my head. In my head, I'm walking around on the street. Somebody randomly walks up to me and says, "Hey, you're like that guy that does like virtual world videos, right?" This has never happened, by the way. This is fictional. And I'm like, yeah, that's me. And then they tell me, yeah, so actually an MMO isn't an open world because mobile games have MMOs. I would look at them, kind of be like, is that right? Okay, man. And then I would kind of walk away. Now, if the person started to autism me in return and started to be like, are you being critical of me? Are you being mean to me? Is that you belittling me? Do you not actually respect my opinion? Then I would answer honestly. Yeah, I don't, honestly. Because what you said isn't, not only is it not true, there's no basis in any of it. Where do we even start? So if you then told me, well, it's because they have a lot of players playing the same game, my response is, okay, then every multiplayer game is an MMO. They are all the same. There are no differences. Fortnite, Call of Duty, Battlefield. Those are the only popular shooters I know. What? You know what I mean? There's other shooters, but you see what I'm saying? Like essentially any online game then becomes an MMO. What that means is you've effectively let video gaming suits and marketers claim a word to use it to market it to you, but you don't want that word to have any meaning to it. You don't want that word to have any history to it, even though it does. Or you don't care that it has history to it. But the thing about terminology when we're trying to get very specific on things is they do have meaning to them. And they do have origins. And the term MMORPG was coined in 1999. A common misconception about this term is that after it was coined, it immediately became what everything was. That's not how terminology works, guys. Postmodernism isn't, okay, Andy Warhol. It's like, that's not, no, these are movements. It takes years for this stuff to become part of culture. And then suddenly people start saying, what is this game? It's an online RPG. It's a massive online RPG. It's a multiplayer online game. It's an artificial online world. It's an artificial simulated world. It's a multiplayer, what was the other one? Multiplayer modular online world. Like there was so many different acronyms that were running around at the same time. GMUD, graphical mud. Multi-user dungeon. obviously MUDs that came before it. These names already existed. The problem is that Gmud, which is effectively what an MMORPG is in many cases, wasn't a very sexy term. So when Richard Garriott coined MMORPG, he coined it because he was a really smart guy. But you want to know something else about him? If you've noticed the end of his career, especially, he was a marketer. He was a business guy, right? And so his idea was that massive is a really good business term. It is, because guess what? You can't quantify what it means. It's like saying imagination. What does it mean? I don't know. Imagine dragons. You see what I'm saying? These words work. They're good marketing words. What does imagine? What does massively mean? Oh, it's massive. It's a word that means different things to everybody. Now let me let you in on a little bit of a secret here. Richard Garriott didn't design the MMO portion of his game. He wasn't even involved almost at all. It was a separate team doing it on their own. That team, led by Raph Koster and his wife. And of course, many other developers that would become WoW developers, Fortnite developers, RuneScape developers, you name it, right? They then went and made Ultima Online, which of course became a massive, multiplayer online RPG. But the term didn't really catch on until about 2004 through 2006. Now, many of you know the reason why. World of Warcraft dropped and suddenly was the biggest blockbuster we had seen. And that was crazy because Ultima was the first big blockbuster we had seen, selling like 200k copies. We were like, what the fuck? How is this even possible? And then after that, it was EverQuest being even bigger than that. But then after that, WoW was orders of magnitude even bigger than that. And WoW fashioned themselves being Ultima Online gamers, EverQuest gamers, having literally the core designers being EverQuest players. They called it the same thing those games were called, MMORPG. And they designed it in many ways like EverQuest as well, right? But obviously everyone knows the story of that. They changed some parts, they made it more streamlined and blah, 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 blah. Now, the reason why all of this matters is, if you notice something, I never said that things just became massive and then suddenly everything that was online in an RPG was considered massive. That's because that's not how terminology works. And it's because there were also other types of games that were coexisting at this time and even predated the term MMORPG. And that's, of course, just online RPGs. This is the part that always seems to break people's brains for some reason, especially Westerners, if I'm going to be honest. It breaks their brain the most for some reason. That, there are online RPGs that are virtual worlds, but they're not massive. They're not focused on being massive. They don't have massive content. There's the most thing you can do in the game might even be 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 players, right? Like these are incredibly small games, smaller than multiplayer shooters, but they're still online RPGs. And guess what? They're still worlds. They're still persistent. They still have progression. You still create a character and an identity. This entire genre has existed from, of course, the very beginning, with games like, AOL's Neverwinter Nights Online, or games like Phantasy Star, or games like Monster Hunter World, or Monster Hunter in general, so on and so forth, right? And then from around 2011 through 2014, we see this massive amount of MMOs start coming out. Well, I would say it's more like 2008. But I like to describe 2008 through 2012 and 2012 through 2014 as separate periods, because I feel like the games that were coming out at those times were different. After 2010 and 2011, the AAA quality or expectation of what an MMORPG was supposed to be was huge. That's when we had SWTOR, Guild Wars 2, WildStar, New World, and so on and so forth. Many games after that. But New World was in 16 to 18, but you know what I'm saying? I'm saying after that point. And so what that means is that nothing has changed since then, right? History doesn't revert or suddenly grow if nothing has made it grow. So MMOs haven't really evolved that much over the years, meaning that like a lot of the systems that exist now, including almost all of Dune Awakening systems, already existed in games that were 20 years older. That sounds like I'm being like facetious, but I mean, I can show you what games they come from. The concept of a deep desert system is old school RuneScape. It's RuneScape. You know what I'm saying? It's the concept of the wilderness. It's just a shitty version of it. And I'm surprised I didn't see more people mention that. Maybe these people that played Dune Awakening weren't RuneScape players. I think that that's a strong possibility, so there was not a lot of crossover in my argument there. But as a virtual world gamer who plays all of them, and has nearly played all of the major ones especially, for me, it's very different, right? The wilderness is a much better experience than Dune Awakening's desert. And the idea of even like thinking that the desert is anywhere even close to the ability of the wilderness is just shows that you've never experienced other virtual worlds. And that's kind of like a strength of marketing for virtual worlds, is that many players don't play all the games and haven't played many of these older games because this industry is actually pretty small. And when I say small, I mean compared to other game genres, we're not that big, right? It sounds ironic because there's massive in the name, right? But there's massive in MMORPG. So how are you guys not the biggest genre? Because Animal Crossing sold more than any of our games. Because Pokemon has completely dwarfed us by themselves. Harry Potter, these types of IPs, medias, games, and so on and so forth, they are orders of magnitude larger than virtual worlds. Virtual worlds, population, players, sales, all of these things are way less players than players playing these other games, like Baldur's Gate, right? Is that always going to be that case, or is it always going to be that way? Probably not. My idea is that eventually virtual worlds will become so popular, we'll see just about everybody playing them, right? And we've seen that a lot more, and maybe you feel like that's already happened, but you're kind of living in a bubble. And I have to remind virtual world fans of this, that like, guys, we're living in a bubble. Most of the gaming happening outside of us is way bigger than us, right? COD's still selling $1 billion a year. Like, the only companies that can do that are like companies that can do it in 2 years. Like companies like Lineage, or games like Lineage or RuneScape. Those games can make $1 billion, but it takes them like 1 or 2, 3 years to do it. Compared to, Pokemon Go making $1.5 billion in 1 year. You know what I'm saying? Like, think about how much bigger Pokemon Go was at making money than any single virtual world. And I consider it a virtual world because it's augmented reality. But you see what I'm saying? Like, just our perceptions are, we think, oh, wow. And like me, Warhammer Online is my favorite MMO, or my favorite PvP MMO. And then I'm like, how many people even fucking played that game? Think about it. Out of like the gaming zeitgeist, it's such a small piece that even played it. And again, you might be saying, why are you harping on this? I'm harping on this because it allows developers to be lazier in some ways, because the player base isn't as educated and well-read. And the other part is that it allows developers to be shitty, because they also don't even understand the own industry that they're inside of, right? But to actually go back to like the silly post that I got, someone responded to me with, saying that a mobile MMO is a thing. I posted about this, and I've been saying this for a while. Let me freely admit, I'm not much of a mobile gaming fan. I understand it, but for me, it's a pure convenience thing, and I don't need convenience gaming. It's just not what I need. But MMO and telephone basically don't exist. The only thing that exists as a contrast is that if it's a classic MMO, meaning that like the software needed to, or rather the hardware needed to run it, is not very advanced. Like, for example, MapleStory has a mobile version, Lineage 1, 2, and like the 3, 5, 6 different spinoffs they have mobile versions, so on and so forth. Like some of these most like successful money-making games have mobile versions, and on those mobile versions, they function the same way. So if we're making like historical arguments that these old games are MMOs, then those would still be MMOs on a telephone. But any of the new online RPG-like games I've ever played in the past like 10 years, besides like one of them, which I talked about in one of my videos that covered the Pokemon Go video, or was it? No, it was the Harry Potter video I did. The Harry Potter kind of like Pokemon Go clone. There's only been one mobile game that I've encountered that's actually been like massive amounts of players, massive content, persistence, you name it. All the other games that advertise themselves as that are glorified lobby games, right? Or glorified single-player RPGs that have multiplayer battle arenas, which is like, in my experience, 99% of them. And so it's just like, if we start like just calling things whatever we feel like because of feel reasons, we remove any objectivity, and that objectivity actually helps us dictate and understand from a core like technical perspective why games function the way that they work. Anaron says here, for example, I like the smaller focus of games like Monster Hunter. I wish the Wilds launch had been better, and I'm hoping Monsters and Memories releases. Yeah, so that's the thing, is like games like Monster Hunter, why do they work? They're sexy, big monsters to kill, progression, and you can play with your friends, right? Nothing about that dictates it needing to be massive or having more than just 4, 5, 6 players. It's other people trying to apply things they either don't understand or just feel like apply. Well, massive multiplayer online RPG. Massive amounts of players are playing multiplayer. But it's not that. It says massively multiplayer, meaning that it's actually specifically augmenting the word multiplayer. So meaning that the way you can play the game is massive. That's kind of how our core perspective of it comes from. And to be clear, as we've said before, the person who invented the term never qualified what it meant. So that's why I don't really hold it against people for not knowing what it means. And I've had this debate with guys that are creating these games we're talking about. The creator of Galaxies, the creator of Ultima Online, the creator of fucking Shroud of the Avatar, the creator of Stars Reach, the creator of Crowfall, the creators of you get the idea. Like there's so many, like, I wish I could have talked to Brad before he passed, but I've talked to almost, and Brian Green for Meridian 59, like, but I've talked to pretty much the majority of the OGs in the industry. And one thing they all repeat back to me, and you could argue this is behind closed doors, meaning that, not that I can't talk about it because this is a public conversation, but just saying like, they're not advocating for it. Which is that they will argue with me that, yeah, the term MMO RPG is kind of pointless. Like, I mean, it doesn't have a lot of value to it because it's been kind of like buzzworded out and now just means a whole lot of other things. But if I ask them to break it down, what it means to me, they almost all come back to the same core tenets, which are tenets we've talked about before. Persistence, right? Your ability to do something and your content actually remains. So a persistent world. That means that players are activating in this world simultaneously, right? The second being massive. Now, massive actually was quantified. And this is the thing that has been blowing a lot of... Why is nerd so mean in the comment section when people ask about certain terminology? Well, because they're not asking about terminology. They're telling me how they feel they think it means, or how they feel it means, or what they feel about it. I'm just going to be honest with you. That's not relevant at all to me. Why would I care about how you feel about an actual, like, objective technical term or a technical concept? Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, I wouldn't care. And it's because I don't have to care. Because A, I am an expert in this industry, right? And B, if we talk about it to the brass tacks, you won't be able to actually break it down for me technically. And I know that, right? So, like, then it becomes like, well, then can't you just be nicer in how you explain it? Yeah, I guess. But then I don't know why you guys come to my content per se, meaning that this is who I am. I'm nice the majority of the time. But yeah, if somebody is not trying to learn from an experience that they're clearly out of their depth in, I don't have a lot of respect for people like that. And guess what? I don't have to, because I don't have to waste my time with people that don't want to waste their time with me, right? Somebody like that isn't actually interested in learning. They just want to tell somebody how they feel. That's cool, man. But that's some Dear Diary shit. And that hurts people's feelings when I say that, but like posting comments in my video is one of the best ways you can support me. If you can't afford anything, if you can't show up to my streams, if you can't see me at a convention, the best way to support me is commenting on a video. But just doing the act of commenting isn't in itself something that's like virtuous, like, right? Meaning that guess how many comments I get that are just saying, oh, this guy sounds gay, or you know what I'm saying? Like just saying some random thing, like, or whatever, like this guy, you know, is mad, or like just some random like psychoanalysis. I get those all the time. So now imagine that I'm getting a lot of that, and then I'm getting 50% the same thing posted over and over again. Worse, posted by people who think they're posting it for the first time. So like, do you see what I'm saying? So it's like if I'm trying to like engage in conversation, which I try and do with my comment section, and actually have like back and forth discussions with them, heated or not, I don't discriminate, as many people will also realize about me, because guess what? Conversations aren't always meant to be nice. Somebody doesn't have to be nice to me to give me value. That doesn't mean people should treat you like shit, but it just means that the idea of niceness is kind of like this like constructed reality that someone told you in your life and you believed it like an idealistic little kid. Niceness is dictated by the people you're engaging with, meaning that, for example, when I'm shooting the shit with like somebody in chat, like, see, Destroyer Archer just said you sound gay. DA, right? Or Des, as we call DA, is one of my friends and has interacted with me a lot, meaning that they can insult me, right? Because that's funny. And it's also like they're saying something that's not true. It's not true, damn it. I'm just kidding. But you see what I'm saying? Meaning like there's friendship, there's camaraderie there. I don't walk around on the street telling people they're gay. As funny as that might be. That's not actually like how humor works, right? So you see what I'm saying? Niceness is based on who you're interacting with, who you're interfacing with. And I hate that I have to explain social stuff as an autistic sometimes, but maybe that's why I'm better suited to explain it, because I can explain it more technically, because people don't even think about that shit. But yeah, that's kind of how niceties work. The other thing is when you're engaging with somebody's content, for example, let's say you show up to a speech. Somebody just spoke for 40 minutes and their speech was 7,000 words long. Not a coincidence, by the way. That's how long my video was. And after the speech, you proceeded to respond to them saying, yeah, and so just, you know, that's the game's not dead. And let's say they were giving a death of a game speech. You're like, the game's not dead. Most likely the person would just ignore you, right? But let's say like you had a microphone and they had to respond to you. They would then have to explain to you how, based on whatever parameters they had dictated, the game was dead. And this person's response, who's a low information person who's not interested in the discussion, meaning that you can't dictate who's who. You don't know if somebody's interested or not, only depending on if you engage with them. Their response will then be like, oh, wow, you sound mad. And that's internet discourse these days. Like someone will show they completely didn't understand what it is that you're talking about. And if you tell them that, like you just say it like, hey, you didn't understand anything I was talking about, brother. People will be like, oh my God, I can't believe this guy. It's just so absurd to me because my best friend, I've given this analogy many times, is a doctor. And I was just talking to him about this. And when I was talking to my aunt about him one time, my aunt said something funny. I love you, aunt, but she said like a very idealistic truth she thinks is true about doctors. She said, well, like you have to deal with people not listening to you because maybe they don't see a reason why or don't see you as an authority or blah, blah, blah. But like your friend Quad doesn't have to deal with that problem. And I was like, yeah, he does. Even doctors have to deal with people literally telling them you don't know what you're talking about. Unfortunately, in America, apparently, Every career has to deal with somebody telling you don't know what you're talking about. And 99% of the time, they're completely, utterly wrong because, of course, they have no qualifications, they're not an expert, and they don't even have the time spent in the industry to even understand it. And so, like, you see that you realize this is just a problem with intellectualism. It has nothing to do with me being a meaniehead. It's just that intellectuals like me want to engage and want to have conversations that are actually pretty complex and kind of hard to break down and just like plop into a video. Virtual worlds are the most complex kind of video game there is. But if I do too much of that, somebody will just call me a nerd, or they'll say like, nobody's listening to this shit. And if I do too little of it, then people will say, oh, this felt very surface level. So it's like a balancing process. I have to give analysis, but I also have to keep things topical in a way where people can kind of follow them. But nothing about that in the format of my series says I ever have to tolerate idiocy. And I don't. So if you, for example, go to the outdoorchannel.com or the YouTube/outdoor channel and you start lecturing him about how the outdoors works, or rest in peace, Paul Harrell, you'd hop into his YouTube channel and start lecturing him about how firearms worked. You would look like a fucking idiot. Like, honestly. Because first off, you probably wouldn't know what you're talking about. And second off, you're talking to somebody who knows way more than you. And instead of just asking them questions, hey, how does this work? Well, if this works like this, then why does this? For example, if like the person's argument, I can actually present it in a way that makes sense. Well, if this person's arguing that MMOs are on mobile phones, then how can they only be massive when that's the case, right? You can ask a question. Well, I can explain that to you. Because those games on mobile, calling themselves that, are marketing you. And it worked. Their marketing worked. It's good marketing. I can't deny that. Calling their game an MMO, despite it having 4 players playing it, is really good marketing. Because it got you to talk about it and play the game. But that doesn't change any of the facts that you got marketed to by someone that didn't know what they were talking about either, but did it just to make money off of you. So meaning that if you go along with that, you're a shill. So seeing people be like, what about these offline multiplayer games calling themselves an MMO? Or I saw one of those one time. You think I'm fucking lying, but I posted a screenshot in Discord one time. That stuff exists because people not saying that's bullshit. Now, I'm going to take a step back and seem like I'm kind of changing sides, which is that I actually think the audience as a whole has done a really good job of understanding this fact. I actually don't think it's that big of a problem as I'm kind of making it sound. And what I'm trying to say is that I think large swaths of my audience, especially like my core audience, the one who's like watching the majority of my videos, which I think is about 60 to 100K people, they know this already. They send me messages asking me to stop explaining it because they already understand it. My core audience tells me to remove clues from the series. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, there's always going to be more hardcore people within your audience and so on and so forth. But in the case of mine, I'm not saying that they're like hardcore in a bad way, but I'm saying they understand the terminology. They know that. No. See, Uriel, see, that's what I already started the memery by saying that, but I was just fucking kidding. But I saw one on my mobile phone and I posted it in Discord. I hope somebody can find that screenshot. But it literally said offline MMO in my shop store. Like, I was in the Google App Store and it said offline MMO. I swear to God. And I'm saying that's our future if you guys don't push back on terminology, nomenclature, naming schemes, and so on and so forth. I'm not saying be overly like annoying or weird about it, but I'm just saying, like, if Magic the Gathering Legends comes out again, just do the same thing we did already. In fact, that's the thing, is it's already happened, and I'm so fucking happy and proud of that, is that we've already had games that came out like Legends from Magic the Gathering. And what was the other big one? There was another big one recently. I mean, Dune Awakening, ironically, which is that the community, I didn't start shit. The community started creating these like petitions and big threads and big movements telling people this isn't an MMO. This game's not an MMO. Mr. Slayer, someone has told me that YouTube asked the creator to deleting comments. So this is actually a good question, Syed. Because this might creep some of you out, but I've been noticing this. The censorship has gone up a lot on YouTube. And please don't fire me, YouTube. I love my job. But I'm just saying, like, my comment section sometimes, like you guys, even the people here that I recognize will post something and it'll get flagged. And when I read through it, I genuinely have no idea why. You want to know one that keeps getting flagged? You guys are going to fucking weird out. You ready? Tencent. I swear. I've seen Tencent pop up so many times in my blocked messages. And I didn't put a filter on it, so why is it doing that? Oh no, man. You see why I kind of just like tune out the people that are defending a video game company, professional video game company? Because I'm suddenly getting these like blocked comments, and the ones that mention Tencent are constantly blocked. I don't know why that is. I just think that that's interesting. And there's more too. There's like if someone had, like I've had it happen a few times where someone had like a really detailed critique. I'm talking like paragraphs. And they'll say like shit one time, and it's the whole thing is fucking blocked. So it's like, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of think purity culture and like this whole like virtuous like police, everyone must be good. I think this is where it's headed, is all I'm trying to say. It's headed towards this types of censorship. And it's also just headed to inauthenticity, sorry. Meaning that because people know that either shit's gonna get censored, or creators know that they're not gonna get good feedback, or whatever else, they're just gonna not even engage with it anymore. And this is something that's happening a lot on YouTube. And it seems like many people don't recognize this. Have you noticed that other YouTubers almost never respond to comments? Almost never even respond to comment chatters? Like, if you think I'm being crazy, just go pull up some of your favorite YouTubers and tell me how many times they've ever done that stuff. And it might sound like I'm just saying, oh, you're saying that because you're the one. You're trying to advertise yourself. No, part of that's my autism and my brain damage, I think, that I like to do that. I like to wad into fucking hostile places even and try to get my point heard. Like, I'm that kind of person. I just who I am. But I actually think it's worse. Meaning that you're better off whenever you're making content on YouTube to, yeah, maybe create flames, stoke flames, create discussion, but don't actually do that. And what I mean is that they don't want you to actually foster it or engage with it yourself. So the majority of the biggest creators don't at all. They don't engage with their comments. They don't even read them at all. And sadly, that's what becomes the future for many content creators who get bigger. And the reason they always tell me, and I've had conversations with many of them that are bigger than me, they always tell me that it just becomes either hard to manage or they don't find that much value in it. I find value in my comment sections. It's hard. And sometimes that in itself is almost not a value, trying to look for the value in it. But I find value in my comment section. I get a lot of good perspectives. I get a lot of good like debates and discussions, not super frequently, but over the course of my like 8-9 year career or whatever, like I've had a lot. And in fact, I've made friends that started in the comment section on YouTube, including arguing with each other, like Piper, coming to Discord and us becoming friends with each other. That's because humans are just trying to understand each other, right? We want to understand how each other think, what, you know, how this works, and so on and so forth. However, if you're coming to, for example, me to talk about virtual worlds, and you're not interested in understanding how they work, I'm probably really not that interested in talking to you because something that I think people forget about is that while I am a YouTuber, I'm a teacher. I'm an educator. I consider myself a teacher. That's my role, right? I make my content explicitly with the idea to teach and try to help and try to make people understand, right? Get away, quítate. That's what I want, right? That's how I like things. And so like for me, like my series works the way it does. Here's 1 second. Let me put my dog up. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, basically, where were we? Oh, that yeah. So that like barrier exists for a reason. And when I say barrier, I mean like why you can't access most content creators is because they don't want to be accessed. Um, they don't want to be sent thousands of messages and hundreds of messages. It either is overwhelming for them, critically wise, or just the amount of drivel they get is too much, so on and so forth. So the way that I found in my life that the only way I found that you can deal with that is if you actually just look at every type of comment in a couple different ways. Meaning you have to put them in different categories. This is what autists like me are good at doing, right? So some comments to me are what I call positive. Positive comments to me are comments that tell me something that I didn't mention in the video that I could have mentioned, something that I did mention that they liked that I mentioned and they explain why, or something that they think that I could have spent more time on. Like, so basically like positive criticism. That's a positive comment to me. Fan comment would be my second one. Fan comment is just someone being like, love the video, man, appreciate it, love your stuff. That's one of them too. So you have positive comments, you have a fan comment, which is like actual positive comment. Then you have like the third. The third's gonna be what I just described as a negative comment. A negative comment doesn't offer any discussion, and it only seems like it's meant to denigrate whatever is being discussed. So, like for example, a good example of this, I have some of these saved, so I can give you an example. Okay. All right, here's what this guy says to me. After I mentioned that MMOs are open worlds, he responds with, "Sadly, you are wrong. There are plenty of mobile MMOs, which are not open worlds. MMO only means massive multiplayer online. So if 1,000 players are active at the same time on the same server, then it's an MMO." So to be clear, he just told me how the industry works. Someone he both doesn't know and is woefully underprepared for, right? And then says, it's not necessarily linked to an open world design like many MMORPGs have, right? Like, so first off, the question is, who are you? Why are you saying things that are wrong? And why do you think that I have to be nice about it, right? Meaning that if you said something's wrong, it's wrong. I said it's wrong. That's wrong. Okay? Hey, man, I appreciate that. That's wrong. I don't have to be nice about that. Like, that shit's wrong, bro. You didn't say anything right. It's wrong, okay? You got that out of the way? Or maybe if I say it nicer, it'd be nice. Hey, man, it's wrong, bro. But that's just how you feel, right? You feel that way. Now, the problem with feeling a certain way and telling somebody how it is that you've now essentially made a feels-based argument. And feels-based arguments are just, I'm going to be honest with you, they're just not very interesting to almost anybody. While that sounds like I'm being like, our arguments must no longer have emotions involved. Like I'm like I'm Spock. No, that's not. Humans have emotions. That's why it's so absurd to start to like analyze emotions in a kind of conversation, right? and brings them so much into something because then it becomes hard to analyze. Well, I can't objectively measure your emotions. I don't know why this is bothering you objectively because that doesn't exist, right? So that's why feels-based arguments and conversations are messy. They're yelling at each other. Ah, you're wrong. No, you're. There's no rhyme or reason. I lived my childhood with, an abusive mom going through. Trust me, emotional arguments are completely, utterly worthless. They're only really engaging for people who are emotionally engaged with you. So if like someone like is really emotionally like connected to you, and you have an emotional argument with them, that's going to really resonate with them because you're emotionally connected. But for example, if someone's like telling me about how they feel about a technical term, I don't care about your feelings. But they have nothing to do with me. They have nothing to do with the concepts we're talking about. We're talking about technicality, right? This world works like this because of infrastructure. That has nothing to do with how you feel. So my response was, look, you're showcasing how wrong you are and you're proud of it because this is the person telling me that I'm wrong. They made the claim that I'm wrong first. And you'll see why I'm pointing all of this out. It's fucking hilarious, right? Because after I then respond with like, here, just being online and having players play it doesn't mean it's a virtual world or a massive virtual world. There's no other modifiers or adjectives. MMORPG is only referencing how many players are playing it. There's nothing else unique about it, right? It's just the social aspect. Meaning that, like, saying a mobile game says they're an MMO, and then suddenly that should mean that everything else, now qualifies or doesn't qualify. That doesn't make any sense. Mobile MMOs are not only an oxymoron, they're predated by actual MMOs. By the actual term and its meaning. Just because people are misleading it to make money doesn't mean that makes it true. Think about how if you're falling for that marketing, you're getting tricked. That's not about ignorance. You got scammed. You got scammed into thinking something that wasn't what it was what it was. That's not good. Well, okay, let's say that happened. Let's move past that now. Now we know what the term means. I spent 30 minutes today explaining it. And you can tell other people that's not an MMO just because it has 5 players playing it online. It's just an online RPG. You can look smug as I do. But yeah, so let's go through the list. Somebody then responds with, well, you're wrong and you're showing ignorance, and it's understandable. And these things are upvoted, by the way. I'm sorry. You dorks upvoting this stuff wouldn't even get in chat and talk to me about any of your ideas because you'd start crying if I said anything bad about it because you're wrong and you don't know what you're talking about. I've already met so many of you guys. It's always the same kind of people who do this little quiet upvote fucking nonsense shit. Like, look at this. It says, many MMOs are not open world. Some have lobby systems or disconnected zones, like Destiny, Warframe, Phantasy Star, Closers, Path of Exile. Oh, interesting. You activated my trap card. Now I can tell you have no fucking idea what you're talking about at all. And I know you're a Westerner. Like, literally, like, it's like the ultimate, like, fucking Inglorious Bastard shit. People pull out the 3 with the 3. You know what I'm saying? Like, the Inglorious Bastard scene is when they say that Destiny or Warframe or Phantasy Star or Path of Exile, any of these kinds of games are massive multiplayer online RPGs. I'm gonna blow your minds, guys. If those games came out in the 90s, they would have been called MUDs. They would have been just called graphical MUDs. Because MMORPG didn't exist as a term. You see what I'm saying? Like, the terms didn't exist. So, what are you talking about? Fantasy Star 1 came out in like 2001, bro. The term wasn't even in the zeitgeist yet. So how could it even be that's what it was? It literally doesn't even make any sense. This was another part of the world, the Eastern world, making an online game, and you think it somehow would have to apply by the rules of the Western confine of a term that is not even, that predated it, that didn't even apply to it. You see what I'm saying? It's just like so absurd, like how Westerners act with this shit, where they're just like, oh, well, game came out, it's MMO. It's like, guys, why are you calling Eastern games something that they're not called? Even in the East, they don't even call them that there. Think about that. Caring so much for things that don't matter like that and things that you don't even understand is just so strange to me. Destiny was never designed to be an MMO. Even in its early experiences, it described itself as an online, a shared world experience or whatever the fuck. Like, other people were calling them massive and MMO and everything else, right? And they kind of just went along with it after a while. But they never actually qualified themselves specifically as that. Watch my Destiny 1 video. They never did. It's just, so how does that happen? That's the culture saying, how do I explain this? Because I'm a human, I need to classify this. MMO. But why are they saying MMO? Because they think MMO means more than just saying MORPG. Like, people think that just having massive in front of the multiplayer makes it better for some reason, even if it doesn't actually qualify, quantify, or explain anything in which it's trying to describe. That's a feels thing. It's just how people love massive so much. It makes them feel so good inside. They're just like, it's all massive. I'm not kidding. That's literally the argument. Because let's actually talk about like content size differences. If the max content you can do in Phantasy Star is like 6 or 5 players or 8 players, that wouldn't have even been massive in 1990. That wasn't even massive in 1980, right? You might be saying, nerd, how do you know this? This is not true. Because Raph Koster told me massive actually was quantified. He disagreed with me. I said it wasn't ever quantified, and that's the problem. He says I disagree. And I said, what's the argument here? Well, guess what? He made an argument. Linux was the prior servers. Maybe Dia can explain this better than me as a Linux user. That's what the old MUDs were based on. They were based on Linux architecture. They were capped. They were capped, guys. There was a player cap for every MUD in existence. It literally could not go over 255 players. I think it was 255. Maybe you know more, DA, but what's the, or maybe that was old Linux, so it works differently now? But basically back then, the infrastructure for Linux couldn't go over 255. Like, it literally could not eclipse that number. It would never go over that amount of players, no matter what. Do you see what I'm saying? Architecturally speaking. So, what does that mean? It means that MMORPG became after, or it was the big term that they used after. Why did they use that term? As described by developers of the time, they thought that there were going to be hundreds of players, up to 1,000 of players playing their games. So meaning 255 plus players was always the number, guys. And guess what? Guild Wars 2 barely has a player count in its max zone of 250 players. That thing isn't massive almost at all, right? Is it more massive than the first game? Yeah. But is it really that massive? Honestly, player count-wise, not really. Yeah. Oh, okay, that's what it is then, DA. It's the 8-bit limit. Yep, but like, Raph literally told me, this is one of the creators of MUDs, and then MMORPGs told me 255 is our literal number that we were trying to beat, because we couldn't beat that number, but we greatly eclipsed it. So then the point that I made to him is almost like, the massive expectation was a couple hundred players, right? 300 to 400, 500 players. Well, when Ultima, Asheron's Call, and many of these other games were able to eclipse 1,000, that smashed our expectations. So in a sense, MMORPGs are a massive overperformance. We're way more massive than we thought we were going to be. But if we're not more massive than 255 players, are we considered massive? By literal definition? No. So y'all can take all this fucking kumbaya, be nice shit and go shove it somewhere else. Cause that's the one thing I won't be nice about is the virtual world industry. If it comes to me having to defend what I believe it stands for, which is that it actually has science to it. It actually has history to it. It actually has narrative to it. There actually is word terminology and definitions and things you have to understand about the architecture of how things work in order to understand how these games work the way that they work. So next time somebody tells you that, you know, Dragon Quest X on DS is an MMORPG, ask them if it would have been even considered greater than a MUD back in 1995 or 1995. The answer is no. So it wouldn't have been an MMORPG. It would have just been called a Gmud. Bro, why does your camera look so foggy? I don't know. I hope it's not dirty or something. It could also be the focus is like zoomed in. Let me see. Sorry, I forgot to say his joke. He said, "Did you decrease the render distance because of RAM prices?" I had autofocus on. Should I turn that off? I don't know why it looks so fuzzy. It doesn't seem like I'm zoomed at all. See, I'm not zoomed at all. Maybe if I increase my focus? Is that better or worse? I can't tell, but it is fuzzy. Anyway, just more nonsense in the comment section, as usual, as people are accustomed to at this point. And naturally, people getting mad about things they don't understand, which is cool and all, but I don't have to engage with that. I don't have to engage with idiocy. If you're not trying to learn about something in this industry, then I guess you don't have to talk to me about it. But if you expect that you're going to come learn me on something in this industry, it's just the chances are pretty fucking low. I'm not going to lie. If we're talking strictly virtual worlds, right? But yeah, it always cracks me up when I see people say, "Oh, why do you have to be so arrogant?" You ever had something that you spent your whole life doing that you feel like almost nobody else cares about in the world? And that you actually like literally proved to yourself that you cared about more than other people, whether being a professional gamer, whether being top 100 guilds, whether having a cape and guild wars, and all these other like vanity accomplishments. But past that, going to conventions, meeting developers, talking to players, and kind of still realizing after all of that, I don't really think anybody loves this more than I do. That was the biggest thing I got when so I'll tell the story. I had just graduated high school, and I was like, you know, at that point, still nerd and much rawer. So definitely the comment section would have hated me even more back then because I was even edgier. I mean, guys, I grew up on fucking 4chan, on fucking something awful and all that stuff. I mean, are you surprised? Like any of us kids who grew up on the internet grew up on that stuff, right? So I'm a shit poster. I love to troll. If you see someone in the comment section saying exclamation point, oh, he's a troll, you know they literally have never engaged with me in any serious context, because yes, I am. I actually do find it funny to make jokes and to mess with people. But I grew up, so I don't do it as edgily as I used to when I was a younging. But when I was still that edgy younging, if you will, I was 18. I went to PAX Prime. And I never liked 4chan, to be clear, but like back then, there were, I would say, like two big like it's it's hard to say. Like things now are more just like people are like 4chan. But back then it was like there were so many places you could go, honestly. Like Newgrounds, Something Awful, Funny Junk, um I mean shit, even MMORPG.com's forum section, right? There was a lot of like different pockets, social chat rooms, you name it, of like people kind of being different things and doing their own things. And so I came up during that age of online RPG gamer. That online RPG gamer age was intense, and I loved it. And what I mean is that almost every gamer I would meet was serious because casual gamers almost didn't exist yet in virtual worlds. Think about that for a second. Were there people playing less? Yeah, but that's not what dictates you being casual, in my opinion. Because you could be a casual tryhard, right? Who likes to try hard when they play, but is a casual in terms of their hours put in. But back then, when I was encountering gamers, that didn't mean that all virtual world gamers were great. You might think that that's what I'm trying to say. No. But they were serious about the games. You see what I'm saying? It was extremely common for me to meet people who are very engaged in the games they were playing. The reason that's different than these days is that now people are way more interested in games they don't play, games they wouldn't play, and games they almost like hate in a sense, right? Like hate watching. Like, for example, I got tons of comments in my Do an Awakening video saying, oh yeah, once I heard this game was PvP, I was out of there. Just like, I don't give a fuck, bro. I'm not going to lie to you because that's always what the game was going to be. Meaning that I know that if that game wasn't for you, it wasn't for you. Cool. But why are you still telling people 2 years later in the comment section? They didn't make it for you, bro. Get over it. You see what I'm saying? It seems like people aren't over it. Like, where they're like, this game wasn't made for me. Like, why are you mad about that? Relax. Like, you don't like it. You can laugh at it. You can even say, I told you so if you want to. But, like, relax on the fucking self-righteousness. Like, that's what I'm saying, Fluff Masters. I get that a lot, where people will sit there and have this, like, commentary chat in the comment section. It's just like, look, brother, I'm going to be honest with you. Unless you played the game or you have something to offer about the ideas presented in the video, I don't give a fuck, man. I'm just gonna, like, if you start posting really, like, random political shit, I don't give a fuck about any of that, man. I'm a gamer, bro. Like, I'm here to talk about games, man. Like, too many boy motors and edge girls. I mean, yeah, these days for sure. But yeah, and I mean, I get it. I'm a part of all of this growing culture as well. Even though if I was there from the beginning as an old man, I'm still here. Yeah, it's just, I guess the point that I'm making is like, sometimes you see me get like surprised by the responses of commenters, especially when they're overly sensitive. That's not because I don't know people are capable of being like that. It's that I'm surprised that people in my audience are still like that. I feel like I've selected so much against that. I mean, like, any of my streams, I'm almost always making fun of self-righteous people or like overly virtuous people or like overly moral people. Like, these are things I'm not interested in. I'm a detective. I'm interested in solving the case. That's pretty much it. Like, there's a lot more into that. But you see what I'm saying? Meaning, like, I'm not really interested in all the other shit. I just want to learn about what the case is. How can I explain the case in the best way? And let's talk about, like, getting to the bottom of a mystery, right? Like, maybe you find something I didn't find. I had some developer testimonies pop up in the comment section, for example, on this Do an Awakening video. People saying they worked with Funcom and found them really arrogant to work with. Just, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for more crack. You know, I'm kidding, but you know what I'm saying? Like, as a nerd, I want more of it. You know, I want more discussion, more engagement, more not even just professionally, but just like personally, because I'm a nerd. Imagine missing out on your own personal interpretation of a game you're interested in. I mean, Yeah, like that does get a man. Where can we even start with that, right? I think for me, it's more of like because there's been such a lack of education in virtual worlds from developers themselves as well. Um, every time somebody walks into the room, encounters a virtual world, and falls in love, they're almost never really going to understand how they work. And that's okay. The first virtual world I ever played was Habbo Hotel and then Dark Eden. These are vastly different games to each other. So whenever I played Dark Eden, I was like, wow, this is like Diablo I used to play. But I could talk to people and run around maps. Like, you got to think, guys, like, I was 7 and 8 years old when I first started playing these games. So, like, if it seems like I'm being arrogant about first experiences, it's not arrogance. It's just that I don't have that experience anymore. Meaning, if you ask me to give it to you, I can give you what it was like for me when I first started playing these games. The first time I got into Habbo Hotel, my friend Kyle invited me over to his place, and he was like, hey, check this out. And he was just running around, sitting on chairs and just talking to people. I remember watching it, and I was just like, are those real people? I remember asking him that. Like, isn't that's why you guys have to think that was my first experience with the virtual world was I'm 7 or 8 years old being like, is that real people? So if I walked into my own room today, I would probably laugh at myself too, being a newbie. You know what I'm saying? Meaning like being like, this guy's so new to it, he doesn't even understand. But it wouldn't be arrogance. It would just be like, buddy, you haven't even experienced it yet. You know? Like when someone tells me like, oh, I haven't encountered that virtual world that broke my heart yet. It's like, hey, you're going to. You're going to. That's not me being arrogant. It's the same thing as someone saying whenever you're going to fall in love, you're going to get your heart broken. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, Habbo Hotel was my first experience. That was in like 2001. And then I think like about a year after that, I played 1 to 2 years after that, I played Dark Eden for the first time. And then I started discovering all the MMOs and, you know, going down that whole pathway. But like, yeah, no, for me, my first questions were, oh shit, how do I ask someone to join a group? And I wouldn't even type with the first like 3 virtual worlds I played, even Habbo Hotel. I know it sounds funny. I wasn't that social until Habbo Hotel, I should say. Let me take that back. I discovered Habbo Hotel and I wasn't that social. When I started playing the other MMOs, I started being more social in Habbo Hotel. Then that started leading to me being more social in the other games. That's what I meant to say. So Habbo did teach me how to socialize, literally. Like, I'm not even gonna front. It taught me how to socialize. It taught me how to make friends. It taught me how to like hit on girls or guys, guy in real life. uh, it taught me just kind of how to be a normal person, right? And also, I've told this joke before, but the reason why I'm super British in terms of my humor and like just things I like is because the first server I joined was a UK server, and I didn't know that. My friend Kyle was the one who told me to play. Remember? And so he's just like, "Hey, play this game," and I'm just like, "Okay." Like, all right. I don't know what this game means or what does any of this shit do. Like, you know what I'm saying? So next thing you know, people are saying in it and watch you and on about, and I'm just like, what does that mean? And I was so enamored by like socialization and learning and reading because I was a huge reader growing up. Like I am, but just like growing up, I was like obsessively reading like all the time. And so I started looking up what do these things mean, and I realized this is slang. These are people from another country. They're telling me like in different way. You know what I'm saying? So like then I started to become like red pilled by that and just different cultures and being able to interact with different cultures was so like amazing to me. So yeah, like my early experiences with virtual worlds have nothing to do with gameplay really. It's all about socialization for me. Learning how to meet people and talk to people and learn about people. So you can probably see that's why I'm the way that I am. where I am quick to respond to you, and I will make a quick impression of you. But I also will let you change my mind, meaning that if you come join Discord or watch me on stream or whatever, and you can actually converse with me more, I'll still take you seriously, even if I had a bad first impression, because I know that that's just how things are for people. Sometimes you don't learn that much about people until you can get past their initial phase, right? Like if you don't get past that, like for Piper, for example, I love using Piper as an example. Piper, I talked a lot about with Final Fantasy. And I remember it was like, I thought we were heated. Like, I swear, we were in this discussion together, and I'm sitting there like, pumping my arms out. I'm like, yeah, I'm about to argue. We hop into a chat together. By the way, did you guys see that Yoshi's the one that's holding up my microphone? Look. I don't know if you can see him, but yeah, Yoshi's the one that's holding up my microphone. But yeah, I'm like ready to fucking just like rage on this guy, like meaning like academically and argumentally, you know what I'm saying? And we're in chat, and we start talking, and I say like, dude, but that's the thing, is that the first game was and I start mentioning all this like super specific like nerd shit that I think that no one cares about, but I'm just like, I want him to see where I'm coming from. And I'll never forget it. He goes, well, wait a minute. That's my favorite game. and we literally stopped. We both stopped. We're like, wait, seriously? And we had this like moment where we realized, wait, we're actually basing our criticisms and our arguments on the same core idea. We're just explaining it differently to each other. So we had like a misunderstanding of where we were coming from, right? Where I thought it was like more of this like, no, that's not how things are. When they were saying, no, that's not how things were meant to be. You see what I'm saying? So like, that's one of my best interactions I've had from meeting somebody from my channel. And why is Final Fantasy always getting slandered? But yeah, and that was a great discussion we had after, and we became friends. But yeah, just because look, I mean, just a couple of seconds meeting somebody is not enough to really get an impression of somebody. And when you're trying to like socialize with somebody else who has a platform, you have to realize that whatever medium you're going through, unless it is just purely voice, there's going to be room for either misinterpretation or ignorance, in the sense that they just don't know about what you're interested in, right? So I think for some people, they'll jump to the defense of me making fun of a dummy in the comment section because they think to themselves, he's just a good guy. But sadly, when people are being insulting or being overly like arrogant in my comment section, I mean, is that really what good guys do? Like, none of my friends ever do that in any comment section ever. And neither do I. Like, think about that. Like, have you ever been so mad that you just like typed dribble into a comment section? I'm not gonna lie, I haven't. So I can't relate to that. So maybe that's part of it, is like, if I'm gonna say something, I'm gonna say it like with substance to it. I'm gonna make a claim. Like, you know, I've been seeing more recently as AI's gotten more popular, people saying, oh, now nerds using AI. And it's like, wait, so you think I would clip my own voice, meaning remove all of the in-between sounds, leave some of my mumbles and mispronunciations in there, and then somehow, like, that would be what AI would do? Like, how does that even make sense? Like, why would AI purposely make it worse? It wouldn't. If it was worse, it would be on accident. But like, all that stuff's in there because it's just me being me. That's how fucking absurd that shit is. It's just like, well, damn, if that's my AI is fucking trash. Like, I need to get a new AI. You guys think my AI is supposed to sound as good as me? No, he's supposed to sound better. What the fuck? He's supposed to not make as many errors as I make. I have a speech impediment. I have fucking autism and ADHD. Why would my AI be worse than me at speaking? He wouldn't be. Maybe he's less charismatic if he existed. Or something, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like, People these days just throwing whatever they can at random shit because they feel that way. Ah, this is AI. My AI is fucking ass. I need to trade that thing back in, man. Why does it keep flubbing on my words whenever I have to edit my own voice? I need to discipline my AI. Don't do it again, AI. Oh, wait, I forgot to read an even funnier comment. Also, the distinction is a term that comes from game design and from the industry, not from the gamer crowd. It's a slightly fuzzy, artificial difference that has more to do with how a game is made and designed to how a game feels while playing. That was somebody, like, typing that to me in the comment section. I appreciate that, man. I appreciate the distinction. I appreciate it, bro. Just kidding. I don't. Here's another good one. YouTube killed the game. People just prefer to bash content. It's very hard to make a positive reel, because those who have grudges will be chiming your dobra with negative comments. Those who like the game just play, enjoying it from within. I don't know if other franchises pay all these people to boink the game. Perhaps. It's a game. You either play it, or you don't. Why? There is a need to discourage others to play it. Like what the fuck am I reading, bro? What are you talking about? The fighting is awesome in this game. You can blend so many different styles and skills together. I'm 1,400 hours into Dune Awakening, and the building system's the best out there. I just love, love, love this game. That's cool, man. If you don't know after 1,400 hours that thinking the combat is good is a minority opinion, I mean, I'm gonna let you guys in on something. Anytime someone ever says they have plus 500, plus 1,000 hours, you can almost immediately discard what they have to say. And I'll tell you why. Because MMO gamers who put lots of hours into their games don't brag about it. They don't. Because we already know we put so many fucking hours into our games. Like, if you guys ever heard me talk about the hours I put in, you've heard me talk about the most hours I've played in a session, 36 hours in a row. But you've never heard me talk about how many hours of MMOs I've played. Do you think 1,000 or 1,400 is a lot to me? No. It's not. That's a couple months of playing for me, right? So then why would someone use it as a way to say like, hey, listen to what I have to say? Because they're not actually making a credibility argument. Not really. They're gatekeeping you. People seem to misunderstand that virtual worlds are inherently about gatekeeping people, including people who play or don't play the game, meaning it goes in both directions. So when someone starts telling you about their hours and their experience, they're trying to gatekeep and say like, here's the gate. You can't pass this gate because I put in more hours than you, and this is what I think. It's not actually saying that's just how they feel. That's why he's saying, what are you talking about? Why would you say that if you were just saying your opinion to somebody? You wouldn't. You say that whenever you're like, I must keep the gate. The gate must be kept. Enjoy it from within, making it sound like some kind of secret society. Mark of shame. Yeah, no, and really like what I'm trying to get at it here is like, if the UI is the most cited issue that a game has, and there's a guy with 1,400 hours in the game, I'm going to ask you a direct question. Does this guy recognize the biggest issue in the game? Personally, no, he doesn't. Is he maybe aware of it? Potentially, depending on the kind of player, right? Many hardcore players will be conscious. They will tell you like, nah, I know this is a problem. But this guy's not even acknowledging that, like the biggest problem in the game, the combat system and how people feel about fighting each other. So meaning that like at 1,400 hours, you ignored every other reason people quit the game. And worse than that, instead of just being happy with that and saying, yeah, well, They didn't like it, but I did. You then have the audacity to tell other people, I don't understand why you don't like it the same way I do. That's how absurd those kind of posts are to me. It's just like, okay, Mr. 1400 hours. That said nothing of note. Best guess is they think that you just hit a functionally magical AI voice button, and anything wrong is just the AI not working right. Gotcha. I don't think the AI would slur their speech, fucking dry mouth, or you know what I'm saying? It's just like I get it, but then when you actually think about it, it's like that doesn't make sense because the AI is training out of that. Why would it wouldn't train for speech impediment? So you know what I'm saying? Like that's why I love how imperfect my vocals are because they're mine. So that's why I laugh at it. Is I'm just like, huh, interesting. AI, yet imperfectness is what I love about my content. It's funny how that works. Everybody should read Transbian Vians. Oh, wait, here's another good one. Uninformed rage bait nonsense. The game is an early release in all but name. It's far too early to call this dead. Oh, and I saw a funny one in the wild about Splitgate. So Splitgate recently had like a re-release, which I haven't checked how it's doing yet again. But it looked like it had comparable numbers to the first time it launched. But out in the wild, someone was posting about it, and somebody said, Abraham. Someone says, Splitgate, an abject lesson in how to squander every last iota of goodwill you ever managed to have. I'll be stunned if this game isn't dead on arrival. The guy responds with, Abraham Lincoln tried 7 times until he got elected. If you watch the trailer, read the patch notes, you see the difference. You see, and then he put a comma there for some reason. You see a term of passionate people really tried something they still believe in and learn from their mistakes. How do you know that if the game hasn't even come out yet? Just based off of the patch notes in the trailer? What the fuck? He's compared to Abraham Lincoln? Splitgate? Splitgate's like Abraham Lincoln? Yeah, and then that's when you realize you're just kind of done with the internet. You can only take so much of it. Yeah. Anyway, maybe Splitgate will do good, guys, because they're like Abraham Lincoln. Whatever that means. Oh, I have a good funny one here too before we go. Since they chose a woman with a haircut that resembles feminism to promote this game, I knew it wasn't a product. I knew it was a product of this time. I responded with, a haircut that resembles feminism? What the fuck does that even mean? What in the soft shit is that? Show me a picture of yourself. Naturally, the guy wouldn't show me a picture of himself after lying that it's because I haven't shown myself on camera, as obviously I'm sitting here on camera. But it's because, like, look, if you're going to post about physical stuff, about how people look, or so on and so forth, people like me who grew up in the old wild west of the internet, they're just going to ask you to show a picture of yourself. Otherwise, shut the fuck up. Don't talk about people's hair, or their skin, or anything at all if you don't have a picture of yourself anywhere. And even then, it's kind of weird to do it even then. You know what I'm saying? Like, kind of still weird. It's like, why are you doing that? But yeah, the feminism haircut. Interesting. Oh, wait, I have a really good one. Diogo Rafael. The legend behind the voice, have you considered a special death of a movie? Honestly, I'm not gonna lie. Lately, people have been suggesting me to do music in movies. As many people know, I'm like fucking obsessed with music. However, I have a very particular interest, so I feel like I'd be kind of niche. Even more niche in some ways, I guess, maybe. That's not really a serious concern, though. It's just a thought. And then for movies, I'm not gonna lie. Um, Movies are one of those things that I think that we all think we have good opinions about. But when I think about my own, while I think I might have some unique opinions, I don't feel like I have enough of like a strong technical basis of cinematography to be able to like apply my understanding of storytelling just so like broadly to it. Because movie storytelling is not the same as video game storytelling. Um, it works differently. So yeah, like I'll just long story short, I feel less qualified because I'm not like a movie like head in the sense that like I understand all like the tropes and da 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 like. But I think I could get that way. I don't think it would be hard for me to learn the material and then start applying it to things that I would cover. But yeah, I've thought about it a lot for sure. Just because it would be cool to branch out into other kind of categories, especially ones that I'm really interested in. And then since they're kind of side tangent things, I can just focus on only the ones I want to focus on. Yeah, no, I mean, I'll just explain it to you, Madness. The reason why is because it was a hot Swedish girl. Like, I don't think there's any other reason. I play dumb with stuff like that because I want people like that to explain to me their idiocy and bigotry, which is so easy to do because they just do it for you for free. You just ask them to because they don't even see it as a problem. But yeah, it was like just a girl that was pretty wearing fucking yoga pants in the video. I'm not kidding. That's like the extent of the analysis of what that person was reacting to. Like, imagine how fucking bitter and horrible your life has to be that would create like a dialogue tree in your brain. You know what I'm saying? Like, what the fuck? Why? Go outside, my dude. Or go watch porn, my brother. Whatever you need to do, but don't do that. Yeah, death of an album, it kind of sucks because it puts me in this spot where I have to basically cover bad albums. Well, not necessarily. What I'm trying to say is that movies I think have a little bit more room for maneuvering. For example, I'd love to make a video on all of the Star Wars movies. That would be honestly amazing. That'd be like a dream come true. Because my opinions of Star Wars are very different than the majorities. So that's the thing that actually makes me the most interested in getting involved in those discussions. Is I think the general dialogue around Star Wars is fucking horrible. I think the majority of you guys who engage with it have no respect for the source material, nor do you care. You just care about getting people pissed off at things you don't like. Sorry, but that's all the Mauler was for me. Was, you know, the whole Star Wars fiasco with the Mauler. All that shit was for me is just like, here's a guy who really hates stuff that he doesn't even understand. And I'm not gonna lie, that's just kind of not really interesting to me. And during that whole like debacle, I was constantly debating people about it, and I was utterly underwhelmed by how low people's knowledge are of Star Wars as a universe. Like, it was like level 1 arguments I was having to beat people at. Like, people would tell me, "Oh yeah, but you know, Anakin wasn't even like as talented as Rey was. I mean, come on, Rey's way more talented." You fucking liar. You are blatantly lying, you motherfucker. He's one of those guys that did that big reaction, like, I think it was either to The Force Awakens or The Last Jedi. I don't remember which one, like, or maybe they just reacted to all of them. But a lot of their criticism was essentially literally admitting they don't watch Star Wars, nor do they care about it. Like, I saw people talking about, how come they're mentioning religion? Are you fucking kidding me? Like, how many themes have been missed in Star Wars by the mass audience? Apparently a lot. Because I was getting comments during that age where they were saying, yeah, but we don't want gray Jedi and grayness. Didn't you watch the original movies? They were all black and white morality. That's why Luke wears black in the last movie, struggles, almost kills his father, realizes that's what the whole fucking movie's about, doesn't, then his dad kills the bad guy and he wins. Oh wait, you didn't understand that's the fucking base level of the story? Like, what the... Was the third movie not enough on the nose for people? He was wearing fucking black. He was dressed in all black and had nothing but anger whenever he was swinging at his dad. It's like people miss that shit. That the original trilogy did have nuance. It had a lot of it, actually. It's just that you didn't notice it because it was such a good, like, fun story. You thought it was just a fun, goofy story. You didn't realize that there were some actual meanings to some of the things that happened, right? Have you done an episode where you got really sad? Yeah, honestly, especially during the time I was going through my depression. But like, the first time I ever really got sad, and it caught me off guard, because I knew Galaxies, Warhammer Online, these games would make me sad because you're like, what could have been? But it was actually City of Heroes. I've talked about this before, but City of Heroes made me realize I wasn't just like an academic teaching people, but I was a storyteller too. Because people were telling me like, dude, thank you. You helped me put this to bed. You helped me do this. Like, you helped me get over this. And they were like, I was like, fuck, man, am I really helping people like emotionally come to grips with this shit? And it was like, yeah, I was getting a lot of that during the City of Heroes video. So I would say that that one made me the most emotional. Because people cared so fucking much. It was just like, wow. Julian Tanway. I appreciate it, bro. ¿Qué onda? Mahler twins? Why does that sound familiar? Have you ever... Oh, no, you already asked that one. Sorry, my bad. I genuinely don't know much about Cinnamon Tubers. I don't know that much about them besides the one that, like, just, like, critiques every little second. That's not what I would do. I'm more interested in themes and overall, like, enjoyment. And the other thing about me, too, is even though I am, like, Mr. Intellectual, I just like a fun movie. If a movie's fun, it's just gonna be fun, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't try to, like, overthink it that much, but I qualify it as that. Like, if I recommend people to go watch a B movie right now, a B action movie, aka you're just gonna watch it, it's just gonna be fun, and that's it. I have a couple of ones that I would recommend. I'm not a big action I'm not a big action movie person, but I would probably say like Kick-Ass, Watchmen, you know what I'm saying? Like Civil War, Marvel Civil War. Some movies like that, where you're gonna get like complexity, you're gonna get storytelling, but it's also just fucking fun. They're just fun to watch. Yeah, exactly. It's hard. Oh, it's so hard to be sad. Oh, you meant for Bloodlines too. But I was going to say that's actually kind of what I'm trying to say, where it's just kind of like, it's hard to be disappointed if you're just trying to have fun. But we can talk about Bloodlines in a second. Anakin building C-3PO and being a top pod racer? No, it's not talented at all. Yeah, I mean, creating a fucking protocol droid that knew like thousands of languages, that's just average little kid shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then it's funny, people always tell me, dude, the Clone Wars made Anakin better. They did, but you know what people never actually tell you? They made him more powerful too, meaning that he's even less relatable. Like, he's more likable in a sense of like, you want him on your side because he's fucking scary and helpful. But like, you actually watch his scene. There's a scene in the Clone Wars. You guys have probably seen it, where this guy tells him like, I'm going to destroy this ship, and you guys are screwed. Anakin hops up and he responds to Anakin. He goes, "What are you gonna do about it?" Anybody want to know? Let me play the music, and I want you guys to guess what happens next. I'm gonna play the Jeopardy music. What happened next after this person asked Anakin that? killed them. It's Anakin in a nutshell in the TV show. What did Anakin do after the guy asked him something really offensive and said, "What are you gonna do about it?" He murdered them. But anyway, he was a problem solver. You got to give him that. Do you think that High Guard will be a Concord 2.0? I'll be honest, I hate the visuals, but that's not enough for me to say that. I just have to do more analysis. Look, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I know like people think it's a superpower I have to do my analysis. But I'm going to be honest with you guys. Like, detectives were not actually superpower like wielders. We're just fucking losers who spend way too much time looking into shit. So there's many ways you can look into something, right? Based on trends, based on culture ideas and expectations. But I actually find that that's not super, like, consistent. Meaning that sometimes a game comes out and it beats those expectations, like Valorant. Or even Apex Legends back in the day. So I think having, like, the rigid expectation, just based on, like, the very first things you encounter of a game, it's just completely unrealistic. I'm not saying you can't have a hunch. That's what detectives are known for as well, as having hunches. But I typically will keep my hunches pretty quiet. I won't tell people, like, what my hunch is. Even if people ask me, I might be like, I don't know, kind of, Like, you don't get a lot of analysis from me in the very beginning. It's why people sometimes say, how come you take so long to cover a game? It's because I'm looking, exactly, like Dan Priest said, I'm looking for specific patterns, right? If I can't find the patterns, if I try and make a case about it, I'm probably not going to be right. And I'm also just making a case based off of, like, cultural expectation, feelings, and reception. Which, I've never done. I prefer to make videos in the series that are on games that I think that have patterns that lead to failure, right? And sometimes these patterns can be found early, right? Like, I might cover a game right away. But oftentimes it takes a couple of months for these patterns to start to really show themselves. The problem is that especially for virtual worlds or like competitive shooters, once these types of games start showing these problems and patterns, they almost never can recover from them. So for example, Halo Infinite was built from the ground up competitive focused. You can tell by looking at the game, by playing it, by watching their early trailers of the game, seeing who they got their advice from, you name it. And it's ass. Halo Infinite is not a good game. I think the game fucking sucks. Chunks rocks. And I think it chunks rocks because it was made not for the audience. It was just made for like the competitive subsect of the audience who, is such a small percentage of the overall audience. So I could tell Halo Infinite was going to fail, not just because it had horrible receptions and numbers, but because it's not a Halo game. Halo games aren't meant to be really competitive. Like, they might have competition in them and end up being competitive. I'll see you later, man. I hope you have a good time at work. But they weren't made for that. Like, my first experiences playing Halo, guys, are just running people over in multiplayer, right? Like it's just like a fun, casual thing. We're going around. We're playing on Blood Gulch. We're playing on Zanzibar. We're playing on these big maps. We're doing all these crazy things. You can open up a bridge. You can fucking run around the side. You can glitch off this map. Like, Halo was just like this fun sandbox experience. Infinite comes out promising all this stuff and ends up kind of not delivering on any of it. But my analysis was based on only a couple patterns. It wasn't even based on the game's reception necessarily. Yes, it was in a sense, right? Because that leads to clues and that leads to reasons why. But what I mean is that I didn't look at Halo Infinite and think, people don't like this, I'm going to cover it. No, I looked at it and thought, this is a fatally, fundamentally flawed game. So it deserves a place in the series. Because, as you have seen, it got abandoned. Surprise, right? Because it was fatally flawed. You can't fix the core of the game. right? Like, when has a multiplayer shooter ever came out and just completely redid the core of the game? And I mean completely. I've never fucking seen it. I'm not gonna lie. I've never seen that before. I've seen it in like action games and online RPGs and shit, but like in a shooter, never. And some final thoughts on Vampire the Masquerade before I go. I started writing it recently. Oh my god. Talk about a super interesting story with so many twists and turns. I can't wait to tell you guys. Like, man. But it's also going to be another spicy one. And spicy because there's a lot of developers and big wigs that were saying a lot of nonsense about Vampire the Masquerade. And I want to dispel some of that nonsense and call some of it out. So I'm excited to cover that next for sure. I'm honestly going to go now, guys, because I'm not really that much of a streamer. So 2 hours is usually enough to make me feel tired. But I want to get back to writing, which is what I will be doing. So I hope you guys enjoyed chatting with me some. Hopefully I didn't spend too much talking about the comment sections again. I know you guys, especially like the people who always watch my streams, that's like not very interesting for you because you just want me to talk about educational stuff or talk about more like topical stuff. I understand. It's important for me to also cover that stuff too, so people know that like this is how my brain's working. But don't worry, I don't spend a lot of time dedicated to that, and I won't. So hopefully it wasn't too boring, and you guys like me talking about the other things. So I will talk to you guys later. What the hell is that? Oh, I put a squeaker toy in my. I thought my phone just squeaked like a toy. But all right, guys. I'll talk to y'all later. Stay curious. Keep questioning things. And if you have any hunches on any other games for me to cover, whether you're sure or not, of course, give me your suggestions in chat or in Discord. And I look forward to seeing you guys again. Peace.